Hello everyone, this is part 33 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 11 months ago, they were at the gate waiting on Naruto. In his ninja career, Jiraiya had many years away on extended missions. The idea of leaving Konoha for a year or so didn't bother him at all. Especially not if he would finally get to deal with that bastard he'd once called friend and teammate. Looking over at his apprentice, he noted Sasuke to be as relaxed as he was. Since being told he'd be going on an extended mission with Naruto, Sasuke had not uttered a single word of protest. "You know, Sasuke, I'm proud of you," Jiraiya said. "Even though we've been on plenty of missions, you've never been away from the village more than a couple of months. To be honest, I was half expecting you to go to the Hokage and demand you not be a part of this." Sasuke's lips twitched into that smug little grin he always wore when he thought he knew something you didn't. "What? And miss the chance to KO Orochimaru? If I do that, I'll be a ninja legend and the Uchiha name will become even more glorious. Of course I'm coming." That was true. Jiraiya damn well knew just how much his student cared about his reputation. But he suspected there was something more to it. "I'm also glad you don't have a problem being with Naruto for so long. I can put up with him if it means I can achieve my goals." Jiraiya nodded. That was an adult answer. Maybe the three of them would be able to manage together after all. As 8 o'clock neared, they finally spotted Naruto approaching in his normal black outfit and backpack. Jiraiya smiled widely when he saw that the lovely Mocha had come to see him off. He was especially happy given that she was dressed in a fiery red dress that didn't even come halfway down her thighs. It also revealed quite a lot of her ample cleavage. He didn't realize he'd started drooling until he felt some intent coming from Naruto. "Don't look at her that way, you damn pervert," Naruto growled at him. Mocha seemed amused. "That's all right, Naruto-kun, I don't mind." She sent a very cold look in Sasuke's direction. "So long as he only looks. We have to get going," Sasuke said to no one in particular. "Then let's go. I do not mean to delay you or slow you down." As she spoke, she turned slightly to reveal she had a much smaller backpack on. "Just what the hell do you think you're playing at?" Sasuke demanded. "This isn't a weekend TS, it's an S-rank mission. It'll be dangerous and no one's going to have time to watch out for you." Grinning, she suddenly reared back and brought her fist down into the ground, catching everyone, even Naruto, by surprise. As the earth shook, they were all forced to leap back. When the dust cleared, there was a 10-foot deep crater in the middle of the road. "I don't need anyone to protect me. I can take care of myself," she spoke while looking directly at Sasuke. "You should know that by now." Sasuke grunted and his hands seemed to twitch a bit. "I don't believe it," Jiraiya thought. "She's almost as scary as Tsunade, just with much smaller BS." "That is very impressive," Jiraiya admitted. "But I'm afraid only Leaf Ninja are permitted to go on missions for the Hokage. That is even more true when it comes to an S-rank mission. I'm sorry, but you can't come with us." She tilted her head a bit and grinned. "And how do you plan to stop me?" Jiraiya glanced back at the crater and hesitated. The one and only time he had come near death had been when Tsunade had caught him peeping on her. He didn't relish the thought of trying to force Mocha into anything. Meanwhile, Sasuke turned a furious glare not towards Mocha but to Naruto. "Why don't you just order her to stay here?" Naruto smiled back at him. "Because I'm not quite ready to S yet." Mocha spared Sasuke a glance. "I am Naruto's wife, not his servant. Don't believe for even a second that I am anything like that idiot Ino or some of the other simpering fangirls that seem to infest this place. Unlike any of them, I can think for myself. I am accompanying you and that is final." Jiraiya sighed. "All of you just wait here. I'll go and speak to the Hokage. Be sure to tell him that I'm not leaving without her," Naruto added quietly. "You can't refuse an S-rank mission, Naruto," Sasuke said sharply. "Want to bet?" Jiraiya sighed again. "If I tell Hiashi Naruto is giving him an ultimatum, things will go very badly." "You know what? On second thought, what the hell? I never could say no to a beautiful woman. Let's go. You can't do that, Sasuke protested, but he was talking to himself. Grunting angrily, he leapt to catch up to them. XXXXXXXXXXX. Present day. As the three of them arrived at the gate, there was actually a small crowd gathered. Some of them had started to cheer when they spotted Jiraiya, but the cheers quickly faded when the other two arrived just behind him. We're finally home again, Jiraiya sounded relieved and happy. Hooray, Naruto said dully. He looked over at Mocha. She was in a slightly more modest black dress this time. She seemed a little worried. He knew that concern was for him. After what had happened, she hadn't wanted to return. He held out his hand to her. Let's go home, Mocha-chan. Nodding, she took his hand. Her eyes scanned the faces of the nearby crowd. Yes, that sounds good. That'll have to wait, Naruto. Mocha, the Hokage will expect us to report in and tell him about what happened. Especially about. Where's Sasuke? A shrill voice cried out. From within the mass, a single blonde girl came through, pushing aside anyone who got in the way. Ino was dressed in her usual purple outfit and was heading straight towards Naruto with fire in her eyes. Why isn't Sasuke-kun with you? Where is my darling fiancé? Ino, we can't discuss. Jiraiya started to answer, but Naruto cut him off. He's gone to join the rest of his clan, Naruto replied without an ounce of sympathy. Ino froze like a deer caught in a sudden bright light. A collective gasp ran through the crowd. Almost instantly the mood changed and darkened. There were mutters and hard looks. Some of them took a step forward while others began picking up things to throw. Try it! Naruto screamed at them and sent out a wave of current so strong some of the crowd began to vomit. The rest froze, too terrified to even move. Oh, just try it. Give me a reason. Those in the crowd who could still move shuffled back away from him with their eyes cast down. Those too scared to even do that dropped to their knees and shut their eyes in fear. Naruto, that's enough, Jiraiya told him. You aren't helping things. Naruto sent his godfather a hard look. Fine, he muttered and stopped sending out his current. Freed from its numbing effects, the crowd quickly dispersed and vanished. You do realize that they're going to be spreading stories about you now? Jiraiya said. Yeah, what else is new? You ked him, Ino whispered. Her own voice seemed to snap her out of it. You ked Sasuke, didn't you? Driven by pure fury, she ran at Naruto, determined to K him. Naruto was surprised by the volume of Ino's current, but certainly wasn't bothered by it. Her attack was obvious and embarrassingly straightforward. There was no need to draw on his red chakra or to transform into a more powerful form. The fist she was aiming at his jaw he caught with his left hand. With his right he punched her with all his might right in her belly. He didn't hold back a thing. Ino felt the air rush out of her and pain go right through. It was like being hit with a sledgehammer. She crumbled to the ground and curled up at Naruto's feet. Except for her gasps for air, she couldn't make a sound. He looked down at her contemptuously. Weak ninja like you shouldn't try frontal attacks. Since you're grieving, I'll give you one pass, but just one. Come at me again for any reason and I'll K you. With that he took hold of Mocha's hand again and they walked away. XXXXXXXXXX. As they walked through the village, Mocha leaned close so she could whisper to him. They're all going to blame you for Sasuke. I know, he whispered back. They're all going to come after you now. Maybe not, he told her. I have an idea that should help diffuse some of that righteous fury of theirs. If it works, it should satisfy the ninja of the village. What the villagers think doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, what then? Mocha whispered. Are you strong enough to fight them all? He shook his head a bit. I've gotten stronger, but I'm still not that strong yet. Then what will we do? He gave her a quick kiss to try and reassure her. Run. XXXXXXXXXX. 11 months ago. Tayuya was looking at him nervously. He didn't usually come into her bedroom and ask to talk to her. Since she'd been asleep, all she had on was a t-shirt and some panties. I'm sorry to hear you'll have to away so long, but I'm relieved that I don't have to come with you. Tayuya told him. The Hokage would never allow that. He'd think you were going to betray us to your old master. Naruto grinned at her. Of course, I'm sure that would never cross your mind now, would it? Are you crazy? If Orochimaru ever gets his hands on me, I'm He doesn't accept desertion for any reason, not even if there's no other choice but death. Anyway, I wouldn't be much of a help, everything I know about him and his operations. You've already told me, I know. He nodded and seemed content. I don't need you to help me with Orochimaru, I have something else in mind for you. What? He smiled at her. You're going to betray me? No. She leapt back and put her back to a wall as looked at him pleading. No. I swear I would never do that. Still smiling, he stepped forward and took a hold of her. Yes, you will, he told her calmly. You're going to betray me, Tayuya. XXXXXXXXXXX. Present day. The moment they returned to the estates, Naruto created 200 clones and set up a perimeter and searched to make sure there were no unexpected surprises. One of the clones found Hinata and gave her a greeting filled with kisses and tender words. Hinata would be kept busy and under the watchful eye of that clone for the next few hours. Another clone found Tayuya and quickly escorted her to the master bedroom where Naruto and Mocha were waiting. She quickly bowed to them in her maid's outfit. Welcome home. Did you miss us? Naruto sounded amused. Ah, yes. He chuckled a bit. Well, did anything interesting happen while we were away? Not really, Tayuya said. Things were actually very calm. No major problems or incidents. Hinata spent a lot of time at work or training and she spent a lot of time staying at the Hyuga mansion instead of here. How nice that she is close to her family, Mocha said quietly. Did any strangers visit the mansion? Naruto asked. Tayuya nodded. She invited friends and family over for tea or dinner sometimes. No one ever stayed more than a few hours. Her father visited her the most, about 20 times in all. Really? And my father-in-law never visited once while I was here. You know, it almost makes me think he doesn't like me. He looked at her intently. Now what about the other thing we discussed? Did you betray me? She nodded immediately. I betrayed you many times. She reached into her apron and produced a list. You weren't gone a week before I was approached on one of my shopping TSS. And you wouldn't believe how well they pay. I've got a shoebox stuffed with 1,000 and 10,000 Ru notes. I'm happy for you. He took the rather long list and looked it over carefully. Consider that your bonus, and no yearly raise. Mocha looked over his sheet and saw what was written there. She frowned. It was a very long list with over 20 names. It looks like every clan in Konoha is spying on you. Not every clan, he said softly. Hyuga isn't listed. Of course not, Mocha said. They already have a spy in place. Naruto ignored that and saw what other names were and were not on the list. Ibiki is on here, but not Danzo. Danzo probably figured it would be a waste of Root's money. I also see foreign villages listed here. Tayuya nodded. Iwa, Kiri, and Kumo, the 3 other big villages. I was contacted by local agents. All 3 of them promised me a huge payout and their protection if I would perform an important mission for them. They want you to assassinate me. Tayuya nodded. What exactly did you tell them? I told them I wasn't suicidal and just spying on you was dangerous enough. He nodded. That would certainly be believed. He hadn't really thought much about the other villages. But it would make sense that they would want to keep an eye on Konoha's most powerful weapon. They weren't the only foreign enemy listed. You have here, criminal organization, just who are they? I don't know, Tayuya replied. All I know is they paid really well and are really anxious to know anything they could about your movements. They're Akatsuki, Naruto said with absolute certainty. They're the only criminals who would be interested in me. He began to rub his chin thoughtfully. This could be useful, though of course I could only use it once. He focused on her again. And what have you been telling them? XXXXXXXXXXX. 11 months ago. Relax, Tayuya. I want you to betray me. She stared at him. Why would you want that? He laughed. So that you can feed my enemies whatever I want them to know. There won't be any clones here once I leave. That means your movements in the village will increase as you'll have to do more jobs like shopping and such. More work. She sounded depressed. He shook his head. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be compensated. Whoever approaches you, I want you to pretend to resist, be afraid, but let them talk you into it. While I'm away, you won't have any new intelligence to sell them, but they should pay well just to know my habits and state of mind. State of mind. He nodded. I want you to tell everyone that I'm constantly depressed and fearful. Tell them I drink and I spend a lot of my time crying on Mocha's shoulder. Say I'm always complaining about being misunderstood, and that all I want is for the people to love me. You're kidding, right? Tayuya gawped. Who's going to believe that? You'd be surprised. People are rarely what they seem. If you paint a picture much different from what seems to be the truth, suspicious minds will believe it. Especially if the information comes to them through clandestine channels like a spy hidden within the target's home. Tell them that when no one can see me, I'm weak and filled with doubt, and they'll think that the truth and my public image the lie. Tayuya slowly nodded. I understand, I'll do as you say. I also want you to keep an eye on Hinata. Don't make it too blatant, but keep track of her as much as you can. Yes, he smiled. And of course you're only pretending to betray me. If you share any of my secrets, or tell anything I don't want you to tell, I'll cook you. She gulped. I understand, I'll tell them just what you want and nothing else. Good. Before her eyes he transformed. His eyes became red and his scars disappeared. He gave her a hungry look. Or hell, she knew what was coming. Now since I'm leaving, how about a quick meal? He bit down on her N. Ow. Ow ow, she cried out. I won't miss this. XXXXXXXXXX. Present day. Naruto nodded satisfied. You've done well, Tayuya. She let out a relieved breath. Thank you, Naruto-san. Naruto looked at his wife. You hungry? Smiling, she nodded. Simply famished. As Tayuya watched Naruto transformed into his vampiric form. Then let's have a bite to eat. Or hell. Chomp. Chomp. Ow. 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 I hate my job. XXXXXXXXXX. Nara Shikaku looked at his guest warily. He gave him a slight bow just to be polite. Even if he did not want the man in his home, he needed to be polite. The last thing he wanted was to offend him. Welcome to my home, Namikaze Naruto. I'd heard you and your team were returning today. Naruto frowned. I guess security isn't what it should be. The Hokage should really look into that. In any case, I'm just a clone. I've come here requesting your attendance at an emergency session of the council. Shikaku lifted a single eyebrow. An emergency session? Why is the Hokage calling one, and why did he send you instead of an Anbu? It's not being called by the Hokage, it's being called by me, as is my right as both a clan head and council member. I'm calling for an emergency meeting at the Namikaze mansion in half an hour. And what could be so important that you would call the council into session? Naruto's clone smiled. Treason. 11 months ago. It was the first night out of the village and they had just set up camp. Both Jiraiya and Sasuke noticed that the happy couple were sharing a single tent and had only brought one sleeping bag. They're setting up a ways from ours, Sasuke mentioned. Jiraiya began an obscene little giggle. They probably want to spare us all the gaps and mus. I wonder if Mocha is a yeller. He whipped out a notebook and began scribbling like mad. This will be a great chapter. Sasuke looked at him with unhidden distaste. Do you ever think about anything else, you pervert? Sure. Booze and money. Seeing Sasuke's reaction, Jiraiya laughed a bit and put the notebook away. He would work on it more later. Just kidding, I do sometimes think about my mission. Then tell me something, Sasuke asked. How are we going to find our target when no one's had any luck for over 4 years? Well, it won't be easy, of course. From everything I've learned, my old teammate has become obsessed with security and keeping hidden. If my sources are to be believed, the only time he comes out of hiding is when he's moving to a new base. He's just about impossible to track, so we won't try. What do you mean? If we're not going to even try and track him, what are we doing out here? Jiraiya looked over and grinned. I said we wouldn't try and track Orochimaru. Instead, we'll be on the trail of his right hand, Kabuto. He does still go out on missions, him we might eventually track down. Though it may take time. Sasuke nodded and looked over to where Naruto and Mocha were talking. Her presence would make things more difficult. Thinking about it, he wondered if there might be an opportunity to get rid of her somewhere along the line. XXXXXXXXXX. 3 months ago, they were in River Country. They had left Rice Country behind weeks ago once they confirmed that Orochimaru had already abandoned it. He seemed to have hidden bases everywhere. They were following a long series of rumors about Kabuto. It was night time, and as usual Naruto had 20 clones patrolling the area while they slept. Sharing their large warm sleeping bag, Mocha leaned close to him to whisper. Even after all the time spent together, the two of them are still cautious around the others. Unlike the girls they had befriended at the academy, they did not trust either Jiraiya or Sarutobi. What happened today? Sasuke was staring daggers at you all afternoon. He usually hides his feelings better. Naruto smirked and gave her a lick on her end that made her shiver a little. Oh, that. He's just pissed because Godfather offered to let me sign the toad summoning contract. Apparently he's been wanting to do that for a long time, but Godfather wouldn't let him. So he got kind of angry when I got asked. He began to laugh. Oh, but he got even madder when I turned Godfather down, and you should have seen the look on Godfather's face. It was hilarious. Why did you turn him down? Because I would have had to sign a contract. And I don't know what would have been required of me. I wouldn't put it past that old bastard to try and trick me into something. I don't like giving other people any sort of power over me. Besides, I can summon foxes and yokai kitsunes. That's a lot better than summoning a bunch of dumb toads. XXXXXXXXXX. 2 weeks ago. Ah, the man screamed as the smell of cooking meat filled the summer air. Did that hurt? Naruto teased as he pulled his finger back from the man's shoulder. The skin where he touched him was a bright pink and there was a whiff of smoke still coming off of it. At the tip of Naruto's finger a slight orange flame danced about. We can stop right now if you want, just tell me what I need to know. The man looked at him with tears in his eyes. I swear I don't know anything. I see, Naruto said pleasantly. He pressed his finger into the middle of the man's chest. He left it there as he counted off 5 seconds and pulled it back again. He then politely waited for the man to stop screaming. We can continue this as long as you like, I don't mind. His smile was wide and it was a genuine happy smile. No, I don't mind a bit. He pressed his finger into the man's chest again. XXXXXXXXXX. Nearby the three of them listened as the man screamed again and began begging for mercy. He really is sick, isn't he? Sasuke said. Mocha turned and gave him a dangerous look. Shut your mouth. Don't you dare try and judge him. Jiraiya let out a weary sigh. Tea is a necessary part of a ninja's work, Sasuke. I know that, Sasuke said. But I saw the look in his eyes when he volunteered for this. He's enjoying it. And why shouldn't he? Mocha said coldly. A man should enjoy making his enemies suffer before destroying them. That's something you should keep in mind, Sasuke. He clenched his fist and turned his shoulder to her. Is that a threat? Jiraiya quickly stepped between them. None of that, we're all on the same side here. Maybe you should remind the two of them of that. The way they act, they seem to be their own little group. Annoyed at Jiraiya yet again interfering, he turned and walked away. Mocha watched him leave contemptuously. What kind of man runs away from every fight he doesn't expect to win? Sasuke's back stiffened, but he still left. Mocha looked at Jiraiya. He really can't stand any sort of adversity, can he? I've noticed that whenever things get difficult he makes a snide comment and runs away. You shouldn't say that, Jiraiya told her. Sasuke is one of the strongest ninja I've ever met and he's not afraid of danger. He's not afraid to fight, but that's very different from having real courage. Mocha said. It was a couple hours before Naruto came into the clearing. He had some blood splattered on his face and clothes but seemed in a good mood. Kabuto's run off to mountain country. XXXXXXXXXX. Present day. Shikaku looked about feeling uneasy. He and the other members of the council were in a large conference room at the Namika's mansion. There was a huge round table of finely polished dark oak with 16 chairs surrounding it. The exact number needed for a full council and the Hokage. Looking about, Shikaku frowned. We seem to be a few short, and our hoist isn't here either. At least he left a nice spread for us. Choza was smiling and had a plate filled with little sandwiches and cookies. Aren't you at least a little nervous about this? Shikaku told his old friend and teammate. Not really, Choza began to eat. I'm just curious about what it's all about. His clone said something about treason before he disappeared. Treason. Choza looked up from his plate. Now that is interesting. Who is he accusing? Or is he confessing to something? I have no idea, but you do know Sasuke never returned, right? Choza nodded. This has to have some connection. Shikaku continued to look around the room. You look like you're in the field expecting to be ambushed. Shikaku stepped closer and lowered his voice. It's a possibility. Here. Choza gasped and coughed as some of his food had gone down the wrong pipe. You really think he would try something like that? Let's just put it this way, Shikaku said grimly. I don't really know what he might be capable of. The door to the room opened and all conversation came to an immediate and abrupt halt. Naruto strode in wearing a white robe instead of his usual black clothing. The robe had no flames but was of a cut much like the Hokage's. Wearing it, all the older members were struck by the blatant similarity between him and the beloved Yondaime. Walking in on his heels was very quiet and nervous-looking Hinata. She was looking about the room in obvious confusion. Thank you all for coming. Since we're all here, why don't we get started? Naruto took a seat. Naruto-kun, Hinata said quietly. My father isn't here yet. Shouldn't we wait for him? He turned in his chair to look at her. I haven't sent him an invitation yet. Things will go easier if we start without him. Don't worry, I'll contact him when the time comes. Just what do you mean by that? Shikaku asked warily. Just that the subject I'm bringing up is a bit delicate and things will go better if I can talk about it without the Hokage here. The Hokage is not the only one missing, Shino spoke in his calm, steady voice. Danzo, Homura, Koharu, and Ino are also not present. Again, their presence would make things more difficult, Naruto assured. But with Hinata and myself here we have 10 members, enough to meet the 2/3 requirement for a quorum, so we can still pass decrees. Decrees aren't law without the Hokage's signature and seal. Shikaku pointed out. I know, Naruto said pleasantly. My old sensei taught me that when I was 8. He waved to the seats. Please trust me, what I have to say is very important and I promise you won't think it a waste of time. Hinata was the first to sit, taking the chair to Naruto's right. Seeing her taking a seat, the others followed her example one by one. So what is this about? Shikaku asked. Your clones said something about treason. Apparently none of the other clones had said anything, as there were whispers all along the table and eyes were turned sharply to Naruto to see how he would respond. Naruto never batted an eyelash. If he was at all uncomfortable with the situation, he didn't show it. That's right, this is about treason. But to begin I need to inform the council about what happened to Sasuke. Yes, Shikaku asked. Like most of the council, he was eager to hear this. Naruto smiled at them confidently. Well, to put it simply, I killed him. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then everyone was shouting and pointing at him, half of them were on their feet. Hinata was still seated and was just staring at him open-mouthed. Unless she was putting on a great act, she was as surprised as the rest. Shikaku kept his seat and continued to eye Naruto. Naruto was still seated and seemed totally unconcerned with the reaction he had just caused. He almost seemed to be enjoying it. Is this why you called us here? Shikaku said loudly. The other voices began to s down and order was restored. To confess a crime. If you wanted to turn yourself in, you should have reported to the Hokage, not us. Turn myself in. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why would I do that? I haven't committed a crime. I know you think you're above the law. Shikaku couldn't keep the anger from his voice. But do you really think you can kill someone who was a council member, a clan head, and a hero and get away with it? Naruto looked directly at Shikaku. It is no crime to execute a traitor, no matter what else he might be. You dare. Shikaku was on his feet, glaring at the still seated and relaxed Naruto. You dare to call Sasuke a traitor. You dare insult the memory of one of Konoha's most believed heroes. You're starting to sound like Ino. Your accusation is a serious one. Shino remained one of the few calm voices in the room. Can you offer up some proof besides your own testimony? I'm so glad you asked that. He took a docent out from one of the inner pockets of his robe and flicked it to the middle of the table. That should be all the proof you need. I took that from Sasuke's cold hand. Orochimaru had given it to him, and once Sasuke read it, he swore he would join with Orochimaru and destroy Konoha. That is a lie. Choza shouted. Sasuke would never do such a thing. He would never have betrayed his village. Shikaku reached out and grabbed the docent. Reading it, he glared at Naruto again. Is this your idea of a joke? That seal is authentic, Naruto said. Cast a verification jutsu and see for yourself. Shikaku did just that. The wax seal began to glow with a pale blue light. Shikaku felt his knees buckle and he fell back into his seat. No, this isn't possible. Naruto slowly nodded and seemed a bit saddened as well. I know, I was shocked too, but the seal is the third Hokage's. That docent is valid. Seeing Shikaku's reaction quieted everyone's attention and shifted their focus over to him. What the hell does it say? Choza asked. Wordlessly Shikaku handed the docent over. Choza took it and read it. As he did so the color drained from his face. What is it? Chum called out. It was Naruto who answered. It is a signed order from the third Hokage to Uchiha Itachi bearing not only his signature and seal but the signatures of Danzo, Homura, and Koharu. It is an authorization for the M of the Uchiha clan. The entire room was silent. One by one the docent was passed around the table and every member, except Naruto, read it and confirmed that the seal really was authentic. Once it had made its way around the room Naruto spoke. I trust you now understand why I called this meeting without Danzo, Homura, and Koharu. I also did not call the Hokage as he has close ties to the three of them who are loyal supporters. I did not want to place him in the awkward position of having to condemn them. You're just full of kindness, aren't you? Shikaku said bitterly. You realize you've just destroyed Sarutobi's reputation, don't you? I thought you at least had some sense of loyalty to him. If he were alive maybe I would have acted differently, Naruto said. But maybe not too. He always believed he was responsible for his actions. What do you wish done now? Shino asked, calm as ever. Danzo controls a large faction of Anbu who are absolutely loyal to him. If he is allowed to stand trial it will be an invitation to this group to either liberate him or perhaps instigates a civil war. Therefore to avenge the horrible crime of the Uchiha M and to protect the village from civil unrest I ask the council to declare Danzo, Homura, and Koharu public enemies and authorize that they be killed on sight. Let them without even the dignity of a trial or arrest, just as the Uchiha did. Though sickened by what they had just learned the council agreed with him that such would be justice. All 10 members, including Shikaku, voted immediate death on their fellow council members. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.